I've stumbled upon the transgender ranch that killed 212 alpacas.
The Tenacious Unicorn Ranch was once home to over 212 alpacas. Originally created as a safe haven for transgender people, the ranch would quickly turn into a nightmare.
Wait, so they made a safe haven ranch. Doesn't this sound a little bit like that ranch that Dr. Phil used to send the kids to? Off to the ranch! And to like be like rehabilitated and shit.
Far beyond anyone's imagination. Property was destroyed, the ranch was abandoned, and sadly, no alpacas survived.
What?
This is the story of how a once beautiful 36-acre Colorado ranch turned into a destroyed, deserted, and desolate wasteland. The ranch was founded in 2018 by
So it hasn't been up very long, has it, huh? As to somebody who didn't care about the consequences to their actions. Consequences!
a trans woman named Penny. Her goal was to create a space where transgender people could thrive. Penny was not motivated by money, but rather by her passion for uplifting the trans community. Prior to starting the ranch, Penny
Listen, I make a lot of jokes about the trans community, but I'm not against trans people. I'm just against the ones that are assholes, like in most communities. So, let's see which one here are assholes, because somebody broke this farm and somebody ruined everything. And Penny with the 6-inch guns, seemed to have had a good, an actual good reasoning for doing this. So let's give Penny a break for now.
had struggled with accepting her gender identity her entire life. This struggle was further amplified with the birth of her trans son, who was assigned female at birth, but
What?
at the age of 4, transitioned to a boy.
Never mind, I take it back. Penny is probably not a very good parent, because if any child has the capability to decide at the age of 4 what gender it's gonna be, I thought I was Spider-Man and a monkey at the age of 4. Tell me what you thought at the age of 4 you were in the comment section. Best comment get highlighted, baby. Come on, let's go for it.
When building the ranch, Penny recruited other trans people to join her, including Bonnie, who would eventually become the ranch's bookkeeper. In exchange for room and board, members of the ranch would work on the property to maintain it as a living space for both them and their animals. The ranch was home to many sheep, ducks, and of course, hundreds of alpacas.
That's cute.
When recruiting for the ranch, however, Penny prioritized financially struggling trans people rather than those experienced with animals.
This again is this, hiring of the people that seems to need something rather than the people that are qualified and skilled. Like I grew up on a farm, and I can assure you that if you hired a stable hand or some sort of people for the lambing season, you'd have to have somebody who could take orders, be able to do anything, or somebody who had massive experience, because the lambs will die if you aren't able to help them. The sheep can die if you're not able to help them. It's a hard process. You sleep in the barn every single night, and I used to sometimes sleep with my granddad in the like they have something called a vakterum, which is like a guard room type of thing. And in the guard room, there'd be literally, and you'd hear the different sounds between the sheep, and you knew that, okay, this one is going into labor.
Although this seemed like a noble gesture, this decision would lead to some unintended but also predictable consequences.
Yeah,
The
they're gonna
alpacas
die.
suffered from a lack of food, space, and shelter due to the rancher's incompetence. There was also the fact that the rancher's fields contained more manure than grass, a situation that some might consider suboptimal. Some
Yeah, but also it's most likely because they have too small of a pasture. Because the whole reason with having animals like this, and what you have in video games, for example, if any of you guys play video games, there's always like a certain amount, a limit on how many animals you can have within a certain amount of space. That's for regrowth of grass or amounts of food, etc.
alpacas even had visible manure stains, which
Yeah.
could indicate a poor diet, an illness, or most likely, the incredibly
Yeah, living
unsanitary
conditions.
living conditions. Properly caring for the alpacas was merely an afterthought for the ranch, whose real goal was to make a profit from them. The ranch earned money by selling yarn spun from the wool of their alpacas.
Yeah, but they need them alive for
Although the
that.
products seemed to be well liked, many of the 5-star reviews appeared to be more satirical than genuine. So nice. and I kind of liked that there were bits of hay in it and that it had been stored in a cedar chest. Maybe put that in the description though, as sadly I am sensitive to both hay and some scents, so I am still not sure if I am sensitive to alpaca wool or not. This is gorgeous soft roving and has just moved ahead of a bunch of other stuff in my stash as far as what I will spin next. Great value too. I love that it still has bits of vegetation here and there, reminding me that the alpacas roamed around the Colorado landscape before being shorn. Unfortunately, the ranch's poor quality control bled into other aspects of their business as well. Within just 2 years of incorporation, the ranch's compliance status deteriorated from good standing to non-compliant and eventually to delinquent.
I do not know what this means in terms of... Okay, I looked a bit. I couldn't find it. We'll just keep going.
Deteriorated from good standing to non-compliant and eventually to delinquent.
I'm assuming it's bad.
Beyond the legal issues, the ranch also faced its fair share of personal issues. A former ranch member named Grace shared that the ranch had forced disabled people to work manual labor, covered up sexual assault.
How in the snoodles of noodles do you have disabled people working on the farm there? Like, okay, if you're in a wheelchair, how do you maneuver unless you have some sort of floating wheelchair, like in the Jetsons, you know, that show. And if you're talking about disabilities like mental disability, I mean, there seems to be a few there. And if they're talking about physical disability, why are you working in a manual labor job like that? Like, I understand that it's supposed to be a trans conservatory, but like, the animals come first before your feelings. You kill them because you're incompetent and you don't work hard enough. So, nah.
And even threatened to shoot those who disobeyed them.
Oh, so sexual assault
the ranch
and...
welcomed a new member named Christina and hoped to raise funds for her gender reassignment surgery.
Oh no.
In a disturbing turn of events, it was later discovered that Christina was formerly known as Christopher and had previously been imprisoned for 2 counts of sexual exploitation of a child, 1 count of
shoot him,
pimping a victim under 18, and 1 count of pandering by compulsion. Unfortunately, the ranch ignored the criticisms towards Christina and continued to ask for donations, which they were heavily reliant on.
We have a Amazon wish list up. It is some.
They have an Amazon wish list, kind of like all the OnlyFans girls. Like, hey, here's my Fansly, here's my whateverly, this is my OnlyFans, and this is my Amazon wish list. Yeah.
Thing that like specifically people have pointed out as being good and quality and something they need.
Although the ranch might have been a bit too dependent on donations.
Okay, let's take a little break here and look. This is not a healthy individual. This is not a healthy looking individual. I mean, this person looks fairly healthy, but like, there's not many healthies here, okay? It really isn't. Like, yeah. I'm trying to find the positives in this. I guess it's a nice community. I guess it's not, because there was like sexual assaults and stuff there. I guess the idea was nice. Is that positive enough for you guys?
At the very least, they were only asking for the essentials.
Oh.
This included hundreds of dollars of stuffed animals, thousands of dollars of Lego sets, and even diapers. While
who?
Occasionally wetting the bed might have been beyond the rancher's control, one thing was definitely not.
Jesus
their own
Christ.
alpaca's wool. Despite this, the ranchers also needed 50 alpaca wool blankets, which speaks volumes about the quality of their own wool. However, these...
Did you know I have a strawberry farm? But on my Amazon wish list, we need some strawberries. Do you know that? We don't want to eat our own strawberries. It's nasty. But you buy them. You buy them, and we buy some from somewhere else.
These Amazon wish lists were nothing compared to the ranch's GoFundMe fundraisers, with their most successful campaign raising over
Jesus Christ, seriously?
$170,000. According to the ranch, these proceeds would go towards emergency security needs, and as it turns out, the ranch was actually telling the truth, just not in the way you might think. The ranch was preparing for war and was using their GoFundMe donations to stock up on weapons. They were supposedly receiving death threats and were gearing up to fight back.
Oh, damn. That fucking sniper rifle you just saw, that's a big boy rifle, isn't it? For all you gun fans, if there's any of you guys, can you tell me what rifle that was? Because that looked really, really that looked like a big boy rifle.
The ranch even claimed that one of their alpacas, Alaroth Griffin Paisley III, had been caught in the crossfire. Turfs fired a single 300 caliber round from what we surmised to be something like a Ruger precision rifle, which struck poor AGP III in the head, resulting in
AGP
death.
III.
We believe that Earl, a local white supremacist Republican, ordered the hit to scare us off our land. While all of this is merely speculation, Bonnie herself admitted to taking aim at her neighbors. Had her car stopped in front of our neighbors.
I just don't believe this for some reason, right? On a little bit of a serious note, I don't believe it. I tend to see these people as more neurotic than the other side. The other side might be assholes and dislike them, but these ones are more neurotic. I'm sure it was a firing drill. Somebody shot him, the alpaca the third, and then they went, oh my god, let's just use this as a way to, ooh, okay, they shot at us first, they shot at us, and then like a lot of them like very good at like cognitive dissonance, baby.
For a bit, and as soon as they had my scope targeted for a peek, they peeled off. Westcliff, get a handle on your fascists. Ultimately, the Great War of the Tenacious Unicorn Ranch never became a reality.
course not.
Nevertheless, the ranch managed
in
to
their
find
head.
other excuses to entice violence on those who disagreed with them. A woman named Lily shared her story from when she counter-protested against the ranch. The organizers of today's March for Trans Rights rally in downtown Denver promised ahead of time this is a non-violent event. I wish that had been true. As I sit here writing this, I have a loud ringing in both ears, my face is tingling from the feel of pepper spray, and I'm nursing a bruised lower right rib, all the result of being assaulted by a mob of huge men. My crime? I was quietly holding up 2 signs on a public site.
Okay, this is the problem, because again, if this is the particular rally that's talking about, I don't know if you used a stock photo or anything, but let's use this rally as an example. If you come dressed like this, then your crime isn't holding up a sign. Your crime to them, not to me, to them would be something like dressing up in women's clothing, putting up some sort of like over sexualization for children, like being a what's it called, delinquent of some sort, right? That might be the guy's crimes in their heads, but to them they're like, yeah, but this is what I am, this is what I want to do, this is how I'm supposed to be, this is always what I've been, and they are like, oh yeah, I just held up a sign, even though I went to a pride festival in the Netherlands. And what they did was, to me, was pretty wild, because you had literal, the lesbians with the boobs out and stuff. But this is in the middle of the day. We're talking 12 o'clock in the weekend. And there was like a parade on the water, and there was more nipples than I've seen anywhere else, except for in some sort of fucking male shower. Like, I'm talking in the gym. Like, when you go to the gym and you have those cubicles and everybody's showering there, that's the same I felt being outside. But kids could see all these girls. Kids could see all the trans people. They were like, free the nipple. I'm sure free the nipple is a great movement. But no, not at 12 o'clock at Saturday for a pride parade where everybody's invited. It was not very pleasant.
Sidewalk, not blocking anybody, not yelling slogans, not doing anything, but quietly holding up 2 signs, and I was violently attacked for it, all while hundreds of peaceful trans rights protesters watched and shouted encouragement to my attackers. My first concern was with a biological woman holding a sign that said, "Heck the cis." I asked what it meant, and she told me it means F all non-trans people, because trans people throughout history have been so marginalized by cis people.
What?
Maybe I was brave. Maybe I was stupid. Maybe I was naive. Maybe I saw it as a challenge. Either way, I ignored this warning and proceeded to walk confidently up the sidewalk, weaving in and out of the attendees until I reached the front of the group. Then, turning to face them defiantly, I quietly stood on the public sidewalk and lifted up.
Okay, I stand corrected. What seems to have happened is a challenge. Like, if I square up to any black man on the street, do you not think he's gonna square back up to me? Like, this is not walking, holding a sign. La, 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 la. This is that's the feeling you're giving, like.
My signs a last time. The next thing I knew, I was very literally under attack. I was tackled by a mob of huge guys who yanked my signs away and ripped them up. I pulled out my pepper spray and tried shooting at them, but I was grabbed and pulled to the ground with
Still,
a
that
big
shouldn't
tree on
happen.
top of me. Yeah, everyone's safe, except for non-trans people, that is.
Wait a minute. Have I gotten this all wrong? Was this just a normal person getting beat by trans men? Hold up.
As we know, however, there are two sides to every story. Well, except this story, where there was only one. Members of the ranch turned from the mob attack, ended up driving up front, and traffic did not stop, and we had to curb stomp a turf.
Oh, fuck. I got that all wrong. I thought it was like a trans person. I was like, okay, I kind of get why. This was a cis girl, what they call them. I really dislike the word cis. It's just so disrespectful. I'm just a man and woman. So let's say this was a woman or a man. I'm not sure which one it was. I think it was a woman that held up a sign against trans people, and they were violent. Tolerant, I guess.
Headed home from doing vehicle security for the trans protest march in Denver today. There was violence, not ready to tweet about what specifics. Love to you all. Following the protest, Penny and Co would return to the ranch, where a couple new developments had emerged. The ranch's makeshift shower was beginning to break down, and piles...
That's because that's not a shower, baby. That's a shed. And even the shed wouldn't withstand like a little bit of a wind, like a...
of alpaca manure were now being used for target practice. The ranch was even beginning to make headlines in mainstream media and was labeled as a rural utopia for trans people.
A rural utopia for trans people, but with sniper rifles, guns, gang violence, curb stomping, and dying animals. I want you guys to see this, pay attention to what they're actually saying in the headlines, and think this is the exact same thing they could be doing to every headline.
In reality, a utopia was the last thing the ranch was, as everything was about to come crumbling down. As mentioned earlier, the ranch didn't have the resources to care for over 200 alpacas, in which 96 of those were stuffed in this tiny two-ton...
Okay, I can tell you right away they did have the resources because they got $110,000 for emergency support. That's bullshit. I'm not saying he's wrong, but like, I'm saying they were wrong because $110,000 you could have easily made a barn with that money, and made some money, right? Bought some guns, right? But they needed more space for the alpacas. They needed more land for the alpacas. That's what they should have been buying and doing. But yeah,
garage. The exposed insulation in the alpaca's housing posed significant health, fire, and safety risks to the animals.
Of course, yeah.
Not to mention making the insulation far less effective. At this point, it was clear that the ranch's infrastructure just wasn't meant to support hundreds of alpacas. It was really a shame that the ranch didn't have donations from, say, a GoFundMe to help with
exactly.
upgrades. If it wasn't clear already, this story doesn't have a happy ending. Due to the harsh Colorado winters and the ranch's inadequate care, most of the alpacas didn't survive to see the spring. Bonnie alone had to bury 30 to 50 alpacas. With the ranch quickly running out of money, and now alpacas, it was official. The Tenacious Unicorn Ranch was now dead. Some of the members, including their leader Penny, would move their operation to a new ranch, but it is unclear if any alpacas survived to join them. Given that the ranch started with 100 alpacas, added a second batch of 12, and a third batch of 100 more, the ranch had the blood of at least 212 alpacas on their hands. This number doesn't even account for the baby alpacas born on the ranch, and since the males and females were rarely separated, this number could very well be significantly higher.
True. Could have been a lot more because if you have an adequate amount of food and animals that have the ability to reproduce, then you will have reproduction. It's just a fact.
Fast forward a year. After the ranch shut down, Penny, the former bookkeeper, returned to find it in ruins. Her car looked like it had been stolen from a GTA 6 NPC. What was once the alpaca mud pit now resembled a scene from Breaking Bad. The ranch itself wasn't in much better condition. Trashed and abandoned belongings covered every square inch of the property, and traces of animal feces could be found within the buildings. After seeing the destruction of her once beloved home firsthand, Bonnie decided to come forward to reveal the truth behind the operation. The Tenacious Unicorn Ranch, my home for 2 years, and current squatters in my legally owned home are unfortunately nothing more than a glorified cult. I can tell you that not a single donation gets stored and saved for its intended purpose. It's largely used to continue feeding the animals and the occasional meal out with the family. We were barely afloat, and I always fought with Penny over fundraising transparency. One example was an attempted GoFundMe for something like $500K, which I was able to talk Penny down from and split up into phases to show how we accomplished something with the money donated.
I agree with this. I absolutely agree with this. It would be much more beautiful for the people that actually did something for the alpacas to see that you did something for the alpacas. However, I do not understand anybody donating to a cause like this. To me, this seems like a glorified. If you anybody knows anything about drag homes, it seems like a glorified drag home in a sense. So what a drag home is basically is kids that are, gay kids that have been thrown out by their parents or family. They tend to find drag moms, and the drag moms basically take them in. So you can utilize this as any type of home. It could be like an orphanage or anything. But that's what it feels like to me. And then with extra steps with the alpacas that they don't even know how to help and don't want to learn how to help. Because if there was hundreds of dead alpacas in the first winter, do you not think you have to learn, or not hundreds, like 30, 40 dead alpacas last winter? Do you not think the whole idea is to make it better for the alpacas the next winter, because you have a whole year till the next one, so that they don't die that time? This is ridiculous. It's stupid. And I agree with Bonnie's idea that they should show that they're doing something for the alpacas, like build a new barn or get more hay, get a silo.
Which we lied about completing phase 1 because former residents left their trailers. Since leaving the ranch, I've spoken to former founders, residents, volunteers, and guards, all questioning the ranch's work after their involvement.
Yeah.
Stories ranging from confusion of decision making to claiming confirmed abuses. The ranch is hurting people. They want to do too much and ultimately accomplish a net negative. Stop being a ranch, it's an abject failure. Stop providing housing, it's inescapably abusive. And for God's sake, stop posting your crimes online. Do not fund the ranch. In hindsight, do not fund the ranch would have been a great message for the public. According to an IRS report filed by Bonnie, the ranch had raised over $200,000 in donations in the 4 short years it was active. In addition to shedding light on the ranch's finances, her report also revealed a number of other disturbing details. The alpacas were intentionally not shorn in 2022, which is largely considered to be inhumane within the industry.
Interesting. I
did
didn't know
not
that.
Initially, due to discomfort with unresolved marital concerns, but primarily due to the unsafe and hostile work environment and lack of OSHA safety guidelines, especially the ritual of alcohol consumption around firearms.
Yeah, this is what I said. One of the alpacas got killed and shot. It's kind of what I feel like would have been happening, because if you are now not mentally quite there and then filled up with alcohol, then a bunch of weapons, you don't think there's a high likelihood of them having killed their own alpaca and then spun the narrative to say there was some MAGA people wanting to kill them? I just don't believe it, because a lot of these people live in La La Land, and La La Land's a great place, but it's just not real.
There seems to be a glorification of gun culture.
Yeah.
I am disturbed by the mocking of concerns for animal welfare, as I have not felt.
Another point I want to make is, I know a lot of girls, and all these girls would have cried if the alpacas were being mistreated. Okay? They would have cried if the alpacas were being mistreated. And they would have been like, oh my God, I love my alpacas. We have to shear them. We have to make such a good job. And this is not a bad thing. This is me joking about my female friends. But this is like one of the things I think is one of the nicest things about women. They have a lot of care. And these people seem to not give a shit about the alpacas, stuff them in a little garage, and have violence and guns and sexual abuse on there. This, as much as you want to call them trans, is more like men cosplaying to me.
Felt safe to return to check on their well-being, and I reported these concerns to the Colorado Humane Society in January 2023. The atmosphere on the ranch is very politically charged.
Yeah, that's what I
one of
thought.
ongoing crisis,
Yeah,
fear-mongering
see?
about
That's what I
theoretical
said.
violence, and profound isolation from other community resources. There existed no proper forums for conflict resolution, counseling and therapy, or any form of financial independence for most members. We experienced a lot of online threats purported by Penny from right-wing militia members.
Yeah,
some
that could
allegedly
be
coming
true.
onto our property, referred to in media as the siege. There was no trauma or crisis counseling provided to me after this time, and
Why would you need trauma or counseling? You can leave the farm. Like, it's not like you're stuck there with gun. Well, maybe somebody has a gun to your head, but it's from what you explained, there's not like you had any gun stuck to your head. Like, just leave. If you don't want to be a part of a goddamn raid that's been like announced, then just leave. It's the best. And yeah, if you say it's my only place, it's the only place I belong, then I guess you have to accept what's happening.
Many members remain unstable emotionally thereafter. They are reported to still openly carry firearms in town, including their ARs. The townsfolk have repeatedly expressed
Of course.
discomfort, as most ranchers have firearms strictly for the protection of their stock from wild animals.
Yeah, 100%.
While many acknowledge the special circumstances, this still creates tension. If there's one lesson we can learn from the ranch, it would be do the job right or don't do it at all. If not, your failures might be showcased to the entire world, and if it's bad enough, maybe even to outer space.
Well, that was interesting and kind of pathetic. By the way, wait, it's here. Here. If you're interested, watch this one. Bam.